In less than a week, voters will head to the polls in the May primary to choose who will be on the ballots in November. Of the 7 contested races in Allen County, the one for Fort Wayne mayor is drawing the most attention. Tonight, we are pleased to have with us Dr. Andy Downs, Director Emeritus of the Mike Downs Center for Indiana Politics at Purdue Fort Wayne. He is here to discuss the dynamics of this race. Dr. Downs, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, let's start off with the Democratic incumbent. Mayor Tom Henry is running for a 5th term in office. He is being challenged by teacher Jorge Fernandez, who had a failed attempt at running for Allen County Commissioner. Do you think the challenger brings enough to the table to actually win the Democratic nomination?
Whenever you're talking about somebody taking on an incumbent, you have to assume, you start with the assumption the incumbent's going to win. Doesn't mean they always do. In fact, you start to look at the other factors. For example, one of them is Mayor Henry's running for a 5th term. There are some people who may actually say they're a bit fatigued. It's time to look for someone else.
Okay.
And that could actually cause the vote for Jorge Fernandez to go up. Realistically, when you look at the dollars available, name recognition, all those sorts of things, the incumbency advantage that Mayor Henry has, he should be able to win this. The real question might be, what's the margin? And so if he wins at 60-40, the Republicans are going to be pretty happy. If he wins at 90-10, the Republicans won't be so happy.
Speaking of the Republicans, we have 3 who are now in contention for the nod. We have 2 of them are city councilmen. So we have Jason Arp, we have Tom Didier, we have Eddie Ribel. Kramer has backed out. Of the 3, who do you think is best poised to win the Republican nod?
Yeah, the Republican nod, anytime you have a 3rd person, it becomes more complicated. It's easy when there are 2. When you get a 3rd person, 4th person, the math becomes more difficult because at that point, you need basically a 1/3 of the vote to win if it's evenly distributed. I think in this case, Eddie Ribel, whose name is maybe not as well known as the other 2, as a business people may know, but they may not know he's attached to it. And so he's probably may not be able to pull that 1/3. And Arp, that leaves Arp and Didier basically fighting for something close to 50%. They won't need that to win, but one of them might be able to get there. When you look at the 2 of them, though, you have to consider name recognition, both pretty good.
Right.
Civic duty, they've both been members of council. Then the question is, how much time have they spent campaigning? And Tom Didier's been campaigning for a long time now for the office of mayor. Jason Arp has not. So it's basically the difference between a sprint and an endurance run. Tom Didier's been doing sort of the longer term run. He's able to jog maybe even. Jason Arp got in late and he's had to sprint to the end.
Okay, so they're going back and forth.
Something like that.
As we know, Indiana is a red state. Yet, the Fort Wayne mayor's seat has been held by Democrats for more than 20 years. Why do you think they have been able to hold on to this seat?
Yeah, I think the Democrats have done well in Fort Wayne for a number of reasons. Number one, the city is kind of a Democratic city still. If you look at, for example, the city council at large members right now, 2 of them are Democrats. Previously, there was 1 or more, depending on the era in which we're looking. So it's a D-friendly area, to say the least. And the Democrats who've run for mayor have not exactly been extreme far-left Democrats. There have been attempts to label them that way from time to time in some of the campaigns, but it's not a label that's really stuck on them. And so I think those are some of the factors that contribute to the Democrats managing to find pretty good success in the mayor's race here.
We'll see what happens on Tuesday.
Time's running out.
Dr. Downs, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We'll see you back here on May 2nd for the primary.
Sounds good.
WFFT is your source for election coverage. Be sure to join us on air and online at WFFT.com for election results.